Hi guys, Craig at Stumpy Grump Scale Speed Shop. It's been a little bit of a slow go for me here in the last couple of weeks, but I did manage to get some work done on the AMT 70.5 Camaro. I got the body work done and I got all the parts in primer and ready for paint. So let me show you what I did to fix the body work on this thing. Okay, so for the first thing I did was I trimmed all of the flash off of the body, cleaned it all up. I said, get all the flash off. I worked on the headlights a little bit, basically with just some sandpaper and my X-Acto blade on the hobby knife. There's not a lot you can really do with that. Just get some of the gunk out of there and try to leave the headlight trim intact. So not a lot can be done with that, but I got that cleaned up. Cleaned everything else up. I deepened the panel lines. I kind of grooved the trim up here a little bit, around back, and the front windshield. I kind of grooved that a little bit more, so it'd be a little bit easier to apply the bare metal foil when it comes time. And then I deepened the panel lines here on everything. Next, I tackled this issue here with the front fender. I took a piece of 0.040 by 0.156 inch styrene strip, cut a very, very small piece off, and I temporarily glued it on to see how things were looking. And what I ended up doing was I have some 0.010 inch styrene strip, real thin sheet styrene, that I made spacers and stuff with. You can see with all the circles I cut out. Well, I just took those circles there and I just cut some of these little pieces off right there. I just, cut a few of those little pieces off and use them as a spacer here. I think I used 3 of them, 3 pieces, while this was still attached, while that strip was still attached. I just pulled it out a little bit and slid 3 pieces of this up there. And then I glued it back in. I added a little bit more Tamiya extra thin to help the bond and tighten it up a little bit. I let it dry for a little bit, and then I added some Vallejo plastic putty and a little bit of this Instacure to fill in the gaps in there. Then I let it dry for a day, and after that I just took some sandpaper to it, smoothed it out, and very carefully sanded any rough edges off and smoothed it out. Made sure I had that body line right there. So everything feels okay, but just because it feels okay doesn't mean it is. Next step, I'm going to spray some primer on to see what we look like with the primer sprayed on. That's going to be the tell-all as to how good I did, whether I need to add a little bit more filler or whether it's good enough. So we'll do that next. Okay guys, so I got the primer on now, and you can see that little spot I was talking about on the fender well. Could use just a little bit more sanding to clean it up, but otherwise it's looking pretty good with the repair work that I did. I'm pretty happy with it. Didn't take much time or effort, and I sand that down just a little bit. I mean, you might not even tell once I put the paint on it, but I'll sand it down just a little bit more. Also with the front headlight here, move the camera so you maybe can see it a little bit better, how thick that is around the rim here. What I figured out, what I attempted to do on my bare body here was to drill out the inside there. If I can get it to focus like that. Okay, what I did was I drilled out kind of the inside there. You can't tell because it's orange, but it thinned out the headlight bezel a little bit there. I'll show you on this one. Can't tell either, but it thins this out, that thick part right there. That thinned that out a little bit because it's a thin bezel on the actual car. What I'll do is I'll do the other side, and then I'll spray a little quick shot, another quick shot of primer on that, and it'll be ready for paint. So that's the body. And yes, I use green primer, Steiner Res green primer. The paint will go right over it. I test shot a hood, an old Corvette hood that I used green primer on, and I thinned and painted the titanium gold on it, so it goes over the green primer really well. So that's what I'm using. And you see the hood. The tail panel. The lower front valance. And the mirrors. Those are all in green primer. Ready to go. Well, for the interior is going to be a saddle interior. Kind of a brownish with some tan hues to it, so I used the neutral Steiner Res neutral primer on that for all the interior pieces, the dash, even use it on the engine. The engine's going to be orange anyway, so no biggie. The shocks, but the door panels, as you can see. The seats. So everything in the interior got the neutral treatment. And then everything else got the black primer treatment. The floor pan chassis taped off a little bit. That's no big deal. That's going to be painted a different color, and it's going to have carpeting on it anyway, so embossing powder for the carpet. But I taped it off so it didn't get too badly done there. And you can see how the door panel fits right in. So that's that. And you have the chin spoiler, all the parts, suspension parts, all that stuff is black, all this stuff. So just a quick show of it. Don't need to see a bunch of black parts. So that's where it sits right now. I'll get the headlights and everything sorted out and hopefully get some paint on it so next time you see it, well, there's a radiator too. Okay, so a little bit more sanding and another coat of primer later, and it is ready for paint. If we look at the headlights, really won't see any kind of difference on those until I get either the paint on or the bezels painted in the chrome anyway. So, but there's the body work on the front fender. All set, all ready for paint. So when you see it again, it should be painted, hopefully striped and cleared Plus, I'll show you some interior shots of how I painted the interior. So until then, thanks for watching Stumpy Grump Scale Speed Shop. I'll see you later.